Morning with Mai. If you are looking for a community where we read through the entire Bible in 1 year, you've come to the right place. On January 1st, we started out reading Genesis chapter 1 through chapter 3. Today is January 5th, so we are 5 days into it, and today we will be reading chapters 13, 14, 15, and 16. And before we get started, I just want to say, those of you that are celebrating your birthday today, before we start reading the Bible, I wanted to celebrate those of you that are having a birthday today by singing Happy Birthday to you, Happy Birthday to you, Happy Birthday to my January 5th birthday, darling, and many more. In honor of your birthday, I am going to make a balloon animal for you. As a kid, I always love it when I see a balloon artist at work. I'm just fascinated by all the twists and all of that they do. I'm just fascinated by all the twists that they do. I just love it. I am making a mouse to celebrate your birthday. Now, let's get into reading the Bible chapters. Of course, this being January, we are reading from the book of Genesis, and I am using the King James Version of the Holy Bible. And for those of you that have the Bible, please open it up to chapters 13, 14, 15, and 16, which would be the chapters that we're reading today. Now, those of you that do not have the Bible, you can use the free app from the Gideon website. It's a free Bible app, and you can download it, and they have over 1,800 different languages in there. So there will be a language for you to use. Now, I am going to flip to chapter 13. I have created a reading schedule that I find will be very helpful for you, because instead of reading just by chapter, I also take into consideration the number of verses too, because some chapters are longer than others. So on average, we will be reading anywhere from 2 to 5 chapters, on average 85 verses per day, which would make it fairly comfortable for you to be able to read in one sitting. I know you guys are busy and have lots of things going on. However, by setting aside time to spend with God by reading His Word, I know you will be blessed by the effort, and you will be rewarded for your diligence in getting to know God. I know I'm looking forward to his blessings. Now let's begin chapter 13 of the book of Genesis in the King James Bible. And Abram went up out of Egypt, and he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journeys from the south, even to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai, or High. Unto the place of the altar, which he had made at the first, and there he called on the name of the Lord. And Lot also, which went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents, and the land was not able to bear them, and they might dwell together. For their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together. And there was a strife between the herdmen of Abram's cattle and the herdmen of Lot's cattle. And the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwell then in the land. And Abram said unto Lot, Let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my herdmen and thy herdmen, for we be brethren. Is it not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right, or if thou departs to the right hand, then I will go to the left. And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest unto Zoar. Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves the one from the other. Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the city of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom. But the men of Sodom were wicked, and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. And the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, Lift up now thy eyes, and look from the place where thou art northward, and southward, and eastward, and westward. For all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever. I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it, and in the breadth of it, for I will give it unto thee. Then Abram removed his tent, and came and dwelt in the plains of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord. Now that is the end of chapter 13. We will now begin the reading of chapter 14 of Genesis. It came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elazar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, that these make war with Bera, king of Sodom, and with Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shemnap, king of Admar, and Shemabir, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, which is Zor. All these were joined together in the vow of Siddim, which is the salt sea. 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year came Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, and smote the Rephaims in Astonora, Canaim, and Zuim in Ham, and the Emims in Sheva Kirathaim, and the Horites in their Mount Seir, unto Eparam, which is by the wilderness. And they returned and came to Anmithspat, which is Kadesh, and smote all of the country of the Amalekites and also the Amorites that dwell in Hazion Tamar. There went out the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admar, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, the same is Zoar, and they joined battle with them in the vow of Siddim, with Chedorlaomer king of Elam, and a title king of nations, and Amraphel king of Shinar, and Arioch king of Elazar, 4 kings with 5. And the vow of Siddim was full of slime pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, and fell there, and they that remained fled to the mountain. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their victuals, and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there came one that had escaped, and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, and the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, the brother of Anar, and these were confederate with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. And he divided himself against them, he and his servants, by night, and smote them, and pursued them unto Hobar, which is on the left hand of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and of the kings that were with him, at the valley of Shaveh, which is the king's dell. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him, and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessors of heaven and earth, and blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemies into thy hand. And he gave him tithes of all. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons, and take the goods to thyself. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up my eyes unto the Lord, the Most High God, and possessors of heaven and earth, and I will not take from a thread even to a shoe latchet, that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou should say, I have made Abram rich, save only that which the young man have eaten, and the portion of the man which went with me, Anar, Eshcol, Mamre. Let them take their portion. And that concluded chapter 14 of the book of Genesis. We will now start chapter 15. After these kings, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. And Abram said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is this Eliezer of Damascus? And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, and he that shall come forth out of thy own bowels will be thine heir. And he brought him forth abroad, and said, Look now toward heaven, and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. Then he said unto them, so shall thy seed be. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldees, and give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, take me a heifer of 3 years old, and she of goat 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another. But the birds divided he not. And when the fowls came down from the carcasses, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in the land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace, and in peace thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquities of the Amorites is not yet full. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. In the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates, the Canaanites and the Kenizzites and the Kadamites, and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaims, and the Amorites and the Canaanites, and the Girgashites and the Jebusites. That concluded chapter 15 of the book of Genesis. We will now read chapter 16. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abram, behold now, the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. And Sarai said unto Abram, my wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid into thy bosom. And when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. The Lord judge between me and thee. But Abram said unto Sarai, behold, thy maid is in thy hand. Do to her as it pleases thee. And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. And the angel of the Lord found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, whence comest thou, and whither wilt thou go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarai. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, return to thy mistress, and submit thyself under her hands. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shalt call his name Ishmael, because the Lord heard thy affliction. And he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hands against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. And she called the name of the Lord that spake unto her, Thou God seest me, for she said, have I also here looked after him that seeth me? Wherefore the well was called Beer Lahai Roi. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bare Abram a son, and Abram called his son's name, which Hagar bare, Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abram. And that concluded chapter 16 of the book of Genesis. At this point, I would like to share with you about what we can pray for, this being Friday when I am reading this being Friday when we read these chapters in the book of Genesis. So on Friday, it's our turn to pray for our family. And I have a prayer book that I keep. This one just happened to say, Pray More, Worry Less. You can use any journal. I find that when I write my prayers in a journal, it's so good at a later time to come back and see that God had answered the prayers. And just know that your prayers to God, He does listen and He answers each and every single prayer. So when you pray, just know that God is listening and He is working to answer your prayers and to help you, to guide you, and to bless you. So daily prayer is important. I reserved Friday to pray for family. As you remember, when we started out this week, it was Monday. So Monday, I pray for myself. Monday for me. It's easier to remember. And also for my husband. Now, if you have a girlfriend or boyfriend or wife, that's pray for your spouse and significant other. That is for Monday. And on Tuesday, I pick out 3 specific countries to lift up to God. And then on Wednesday, I pray for the world. And on Thursday, it was all about thanking God and being grateful for His blessings and guidance. And now Friday, it's time to pray for our family. You know your family best. You know what they need, what they struggles with, what they hope for. And so Friday, designate this day to pray for your family. And at this time, I'd like to introduce the action verb of the day. So today, when you go throughout your day, remember the word believe. Believe in God, believe in yourself, believe in your loved ones, believe in the action that you take to fulfill the dreams that you have, to meet the goals that you have set. Remember, the word for the day, the action verb is believe. Now, we have come to the end of our reading time together, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we will be reading chapters 17, 18, and 19 of the book of Genesis. And before I sign off, I want to wish you a cheerful day with all of God's blessings. Now, believe in yourself and do what you need to do to achieve your goals. And I will see you tomorrow.